Welcome back inside the Hall of Fame. I'm Booker T, 6-time world champ, 2-time Hall of Famer. Got my man Brad Gilmore here with me as always, man. And we getting ready to do this thing just one more time, coming off of a hell of a weekend. And it was good. It was real good. Other than that, boy, man, we got to talk about it, man. But before we do, man, how you feel, dog? How you feel?
Yo, Book, I'm great. It was a good weekend. I was ready to get out there because here's the thing. I'm getting ready to take it. Finally, I'm going to take that championship from Mr. Huffman. I'm going to go out there on Timber Creek, and I'm going to beat Mr. Huffman, and I'm going to be the guy.
Forget about it, man.
I'm not talking about you. I'm talking about your brother, Don. I'm going to beat Don. That's what I'm not you. I'm going to try to beat your brother first. But I've been trying to work out the drive. And then, of course, the golf god said, it's not your time, young grasshopper. We're going to let the rain come down. You need to really think this through before you bite off more than you can chew.
Yeah, definitely, man. Was it your week as far as golf, as well as John Rahm, man? John Rahm, PGA tournament, the Memorial went down actually this weekend. John Rahm, 6 strokes up going into Sunday's event. His final hole, the 18th hole, they put him off to the side, and the officials told John Rahm that he had COVID. Now, John Rahm is the winner of the Memorial in 2020, and if he would have won this tournament back to back, he would have been the first one to do it since Tiger Woods. So definitely a breakdown there for John Rahm, and just bad luck more than anything, because the brother went through 3 days of the tournament, and no COVID positive test, and then all of a sudden, boom! I thought we was past that as far as the athletes actually, having to deal with that, especially with the vaccines and whatnot, and everybody seemed to be, especially from the athletic department, seem to be getting on board because they have to. How do you think this happened, man?
I thought the same thing. I was wondering, was he not vaccinated prior to? And then I said, okay, he tested negative Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. And then all of a sudden you come up on Saturday, it comes up positive. I'm thinking it's a false positive, but then they tested him again. They tested him twice to confirm it, and it was confirmed. I don't know. I don't know if he was one of these guys who was adverse to getting the vaccine and maybe worried about what's in it. You heard all these people talking about, well, I don't know what's in the vaccine. And Chris Rock had the best answer to that. He goes, I don't know what's in Fruit Loops, but I eat them. So hopefully if he was adverse to getting the vaccine, he's going to get it now after he finishes his bout with COVID. What I didn't understand is he tests positive for COVID, but then there's still a whole bunch of people around him. Like, he's on the golf cart, his caddy's with him, the golf tech's with him, the driver's there with him. I said, guys, just because he has the mask on doesn't mean it's not going to jump over to you. So, best wishes to him. But you could tell, man, he was devastated.
Yeah,
when he dropped to his knees.
Well, you know what? I'm going to tell you right now, I would have dropped to my knees if I was John Rahm as well, because the purse for the Memorial was $9.3 million. Okay, oh. Now he would have got about two. Now if he would have won that tournament, about $2 million plus would have been in his pocket. He would have got a check for $2 million plus, and that's gone now, man. All of that is gone, man. All because him not getting the COVID test. I mean, getting the vaccine, or him getting the vaccine and still coming up with the virus. So man, it's one of those things, man. I tell you what, it's definitely bad luck. It's definitely bad luck, because John Rahm, I'm a avid watcher of the golf game, and I tell you, man, I have not seen John Rahm on fire like he was this past weekend. All the way Thursday, all the way to that ending round. The brother was on fire, man. I mean, he even knocked a hole in one in.
Yeah.
At one point on this tournament, and he actually almost got 2 hole-in-ones on this tournament. So I tell you, man, bad news, man. But I tell you, man, I've been working on my game, man. Buddy Mike Watkins, he just text me. I got to get him. I got to get back with him. He wants me, him, Robert Reed. I think one more person want to do a golf tournament and raise some money for some kids. So got to Termite, if you're listening, I'm in, brother. I'll see you on Tuesday. I know you was, I was in the text message, but definitely, I'm in, dog, all the way. If anytime it comes to having some kids, as well as, man, I got to get back out on the links, man, just to see what my game is, man, because I feel like I have found something, as far as the driver go, man, and I don't know why it's taking me this long to figure it out, but I worked on a few things here over the last few days, man, and I tell you, man, uh, according to the Opti, I'm getting close to being in the 300 club. That's all I'm saying.
Ooh. Well, you know what? The computer can lie to you, Book. It can
Damn
make
right.
a man. It can make a man feel like immortal. It doesn't mean you're gonna get out there on the links and hit 300. But you know what? You could. You could. It's possible. What's your longest drive to date, you think?
Well, like I said, man, my the last time I played, um, the one hole that made me feel so good, the hazard was 275 to 280 yards away, and off the tee, and I knocked it in the hazard. So I felt pretty good about that.
I feel good about that too.
So yeah, that's what I'm saying. I felt pretty good about that. I don't know exactly what my average is as far as the drive go, but when I took the golf lessons over at Golf Tech, I say, look, man, I'm not trying to be like Bryson DeChambeau or anything like that. I'm not trying to hit the ball 350 yards plus, because I break something will pop. I said, but if I could just get 250 yards out of my drive, I'd be happy on a consistent basis, just a consistent 250. Because I know one thing, if I hit a consistent 250, there's only room for improvement. It can only go up from there. And 250 yards is well enough for the golf courses that I play, because normally if it's a par 4 and it's 360 to 370 yards, I'm comfortable. When it gets over, like 400 yards on a par 4, that's when I get a little bit uncomfortable, because that 250 yard consistent, if I can get that, I'll be okay, because I know I only have a 150 yard shot. But there's the problem lies, so just got to be consistent.
Let me ask you though, Book. I mean, we talk about the game of golf, but before we get into the topics of the day, you and I have been talking about the Lakers on here. We've been talking back and forth about them. They're officially eliminated. Round one.
Dame Lillard, man. Dame Lillard. That's the only thing we're going to be saying in the offseason. Dame, we need Dame. Dame, we need Dame. You know what I mean? It's going to be a big push towards getting Dame, in LA. I just think they're just missing one piece of the puzzle, but go ahead.
Well, I was just going to ask, what do you think? This is the first time in his career LeBron has lost in the first round of the playoffs. What do you think it does to his legacy, if anything?
Nothing.
It doesn't affect him at all?
At all.
He couldn't get out of the first round?
Not at all. Now,
against an old Chris Paul and a young Devin Booker?
The thing is, when you look at it, LeBron James is only human, just like everybody else.
Sure.
He makes mistakes. Sometimes, it just, like the movie Cliffhanger, and Sylvester Stallone, he tells the girl, he says, sometimes you just don't have the and I think that's all it was, man. You can't.
Was he aging in front of us?
We're all aging. I mean, every day goes by. You look at LeBron James, you look at his hairline, you say the beard, he's getting more gray. Of course, he's having to color it a little bit more these days. Yeah, we all are, man. I mean, LeBron James, he just like every other basketball player, man, he's not going to be able to beat Father Time. Michael Jordan couldn't do it. Moses Malone, Akeem Olajuwon, those guys couldn't do it. He's no different. He's great. He's been great for many, many years. And he's still better than, 95 to 98% of the guys that's playing the game right now. And he's close to the end of his career, so nah, man, I don't think that's going to tarnish his career. I think he's a first ballot Hall of Famer. And I think when people go back and and look at this this series, people are gonna say, man, Phoenix, man, them guys were just on that day, man. Booker, anybody with a name with like Booker, the boy is bad. You know what I'm saying? So I think that's all it was, dog.
Yeah, no, I mean, look, and having Anthony Davis go out, it's not ideal, right? It's less than ideal to have him go out. So it was just always an argument that people made, like, hey, well, you know what? Michael went out in the first round. LeBron's never gone out in the first round. That's why LeBron's the GOAT. Now you got to take that off.
We talking about the Lakers, but at the end of the day, we might be talking about the Nets if they don't pull this thing off without, the beard sitting, sitting out right now. That team's going to have a lot of questions, if they don't go all the way this season. If that team don't go out, that's who we're going to be talking about.
That's true.
At the end, I think that's who, Stephen A. and all them guys, Max Kellerman, all them guys, Ariel won. No, Ariel won. He ain't there no more. Them other guys, that's what they gonna be talking about. Hey guys, you're in the Hall of Fame. Stick around. We'll be back in a minute. Welcome back inside the Hall of Fame, guys. I'm feeling good tonight, man. I'm feeling good. I'm feeling real good because that boy Floyd. Money Mayweather, all of that stuff went down. And we got to talk about that. We got to talk about what do we want to talk about?
What I think we should get into before we talk about the spectacle that was. Let's talk about one of the brothers, the Paul brothers. We mentioned it last week on the Hall of Fame, but we didn't really get into it. It was official now. Tyron Woodley, former UFC welterweight champion of the world, is going to be taking on Jake Paul. Now, this is going to be Jake Paul's second fight with a former UFC MMA fighter. Last time he fought Ben Askren. Of course, he knocked Ben Askren out in the first round, in the opening minutes of the bout. This time he's facing Tyron Woodley. Now, Tyron Woodley has been on a consistent losing streak in the UFC since losing to Kamaru Usman. He's lost to Colby Covington, Gilbert Burns, as well as a couple others. But now he's going into a boxing. There's going to be his first of many boxing matches. He's going up against Jake Paul. What do you give him as far as chances go? He's a guy who's close to the 40 mark. He's been through the battles before, but still a physical specimen. And I would venture to say probably a better fighter because he's been a UFC champion than Ben Askren, his teammate. You're shaking your head over there. What do you think about Tyron and Jake?
You know what? I'm going to let you weigh in first. No, I mean, I'm going to bounce that back on you first before I weigh in because people sometimes they tend to think that I just be, just coming up with stuff. Like it just comes out of my head and I just say it. But I'm going to let you weigh in on it. I'm going to tell you how everything is going to play out. And then we're going to watch that fight. And then we're going to watch it play out exactly the way I say it's going to play out. Go right ahead.
All right, well, this is what I see. I see that, well, here's the thing. We haven't seen a lot from Jake Paul in the sense of this. He fights Nate Robinson, knocks him out rather quickly. Nate Robinson rushing in, no form at all, no technique. He thought that this was a backyard brawl of some kind against Jake Paul. So Jake Paul clips him on the chin, knockout. Ben Askren, we only saw for 2 minutes, 2.5 minutes, however long that fight went. Ben Askren, not known for striking, severely overweight and out of shape. Been retired off a hip replacement surgery. Tyron Woodley, although has had his injuries, I think is the most credible of the three guys that I just mentioned when it comes to actually having a real fight. My biggest question is going to be Tyron's conditioning. However, I think Tyron has to be the favorite going into this fight against Jake Paul. And I do think that he's going to give him the biggest test that Jake Paul has had to this point. As who's going to win?
Well, wait a minute. If he's the favorite, he should win.
Right. Hey, look, the favorite doesn't always win. Don't you think he would be favored going into this?
According to you.
Well, I'm just saying, like, when you look at a fight, when you look at, okay, what's this guy done in the world of fighting? What's this guy done in the world of fighting? Tyron Woodley's accomplished way more than Jake Paul. Jake Paul's knocked out a couple of guys. And look, I think we're the only show out of every media outlet out there, be it a national media outlet or not, be it a national show or not, that's giving Jake Paul his props, right? Other people try to call out Jake Paul for their own gain or what have you. We've actually been giving the man his props since the Nate Robinson fight, saying, look, this guy can actually throw some hands. He's got technique. He's got great skill. However, I just think that this is a you have to admit, this is a level up from Ben Askren.
Perhaps, maybe not. I'm not sure. The way I see this thing is, you go back to the Nate Robinson fight, okay? You could say Nate Robinson was herky jerky. You know, he didn't have a whole lot of skill and technique and whatnot. But I'm gonna tell you right now, I've been in a lot of fights before, and the most times I got hit was with a guy that didn't look like he knew how to fight that well. He's just throwing punches. He's just wailing. Next thing you know, you get hit on the chin and you get a little loopy or whatnot. And you got to compose yourself. And I'm serious. I'm dead serious. Nate Robinson, for Jake Paul to be able to go out there and navigate that without getting a scratch, and let me know that this guy been working on his defense. Many times I said boxing is defense, even more so than offense. Floyd Mayweather will tell you that. So Paul definitely is aware inside the ring. Now, Tyron Woodley, the only thing we've seen Tyron Woodley throw in his whole combat career was a right hand. We've never seen Tyron Woodley do anything. He's throwing a right hand. He's hit a guy with it. He's, rushed the guy with a little blitz, whatnot. But we've never really seen Tyron Woodley go out and stand up, and fight a guy. He's always on his back foot. He's always looking to get hit, is what I'm saying. So a guy like Jake Paul, with his footwork alone, is going to be able to go out there and maneuver Tyron Woodley in a position, and Tyron Woodley is going to get knocked out just like all the rest of those guys. It's not going to be a great fight or anything like that. Tyron Woodley is going into this fight for one reason only. That's for payday, to get some money, because his UFC career is over. And I would almost be willing to bet that he don't
Right.
age Tyron Woodley's at right now. So, people can say what they want to say. People can put their money on Tyron Woodley. People can look at Tyron Woodley as being the favorite in this fight. But me personally, I look at Jake Paul being a huge favorite in this fight, and it will not go the distance. Tyron Woodley will get. I mean, he's only fought 5 rounds in his whole life. He can't prepare to go out and fight an 8-round fight. Even if it's against Jake Paul, you know what I mean?
Well, here's the thing.
It's going to be by knockout.
I mean, if it's 8 3-minute rounds, that's what, 24 minutes. UFC fight 5 rounds, 25 minutes. So he has at least a comparative there. But I see what you're saying. I just don't think that we can write him off.
Tell me this here. How many 5-round wars have Tyron Woodley been in?
I mean, wars, I wouldn't say too many. I can think of
5-round fights that he didn't get stopped.
Yeah, I mean, his last 5-round, the Gilbert Burns was a 5-round, wasn't it? Because it was a main event. Wasn't it 5 rounds?
Yeah.
Yeah, and he went the distance there and lost. Nevertheless, I mean, I understand what you're saying from a conditioning standpoint. Obviously, Tyron Woodley is known more as a wrestler than a striker. Same with his brother-in-arms, Ben Askren. I just give Tyron more of a shot on his feet than I would have given Ben Askren. We knew Ben was getting knocked out. We knew that was going to happen. Like, that one I knew. This one I'm not as sure on.
Well, a lot of people, you know what? A lot of people gave Ben Askren a whole lot of credit, as far as Ben Askren can, may go out here and do this. People don't underestimate, his hands and whatnot. I even said that CM Punk was one of those guys that said, Ben Askren was going to go out there.
Well, CM Punk obviously is not a boxing fan.
Well, that's probably true. But, people look at this game totally different than the way I look at it. And I think Jake Paul is going to go out there and beat up on that boy, Tyron Woodley. Like he's going to get beat up in this fight pretty much, I think, worse than any MMA fight he's ever been in.
Let me ask you this: if Jake Paul beats Tyron Woodley, is the next logical fight for him the fight that he's wanted since he knocked out Nate Robinson? Is the next logical fight for Jake Paul to box Conor McGregor?
You know what? I think that would be a great. I think that would be a great a show to be put on, Conor McGregor and Jake Paul. But I think it would be smart for Conor McGregor to want no part of that fight.
You don't think Conor would
Because
beat Jake Paul?
no, I don't. I think
Okay.
Conor McGregor would get beat up by Jake Paul, just like all the rest of these guys have gotten beat up by Jake Paul. I really do, and I'm not just saying that because I don't like Conor McGregor or anything like that. But the boxing game and the MMA game is something totally different, and people can go back and try to refer back and say, well, you know, Conor McGregor did better with Floyd Mayweather than anybody else ever did. Think that in your own mind. Really,
Well, that's
really,
silly.
believe that if you want to. Um, Believe that Floyd Mayweather went out there and got hit as many times, as Conor McGregor could throw punches. Believe that.
That's silly.
But I tell you, Floyd Mayweather, just like Natsukawa, Floyd Mayweather could have got Conor McGregor out in 3 rounds if he wanted to.
Well, yeah, I mean, I think that was probably obvious. That was more of a spectacle than anything. I don't know. I'd like to see. I'm gonna see what Jake Paul does against Tyron, and then we can talk about Conor. But I do think that would be the next logical fight against for Jake Paul. Is you call out Conor McGregor, you make a ton of money. I mean, that's a ton of money to be made, and you see who comes out the victor. Whether he's successful or not, I think that Conor McGregor is logically where Jake Paul's boxing career should end. Because he said himself, he's not in it for a long time. He's just in it for a short time to make as much money as he possibly can. Beating Conor McGregor would do that for you.
No, that right there will set that kid up for life. He's done. He didn't have to box. And then the thing is, man, he'd be the smartest guy in the locker room, being able to pull something off like that. Not having boxing as his background growing up, not being an Olympian and then making more money than all of these guys within inside of a 5-year period. Man, that's a cool right there. Guys, stick around. You're in the Hall of Fame. We'll be back in a minute. Shoop! Welcome back inside the Hall of Fame, guys. We just rolling, talking about a little bit of this, a little bit of that. The one thing we hadn't talked about is Andrade's, formerly known as Andrade's. Now he's called El Idol.
It,
What is it?
it's Idol, the Idol Andrade, but I don't know how I don't want to butcher the Spanish pronunciation.
El Idolo, something like that.
Idolo, I think, yeah.
El Idolo, yeah, something like that. Made his debut in AEW, and man, what do you think about it? First of all, what do you think about it?
We know, I mean,
And
he was
the thing is, it was quick. It seemed like it was like, bam, we made this deal real quick. What do you think about it?
I was trying to count. I was like, has he been gone for 90 days? Is 90
It
days
seemed
up?
like
It doesn't seem like
90.
he's been off for three
Yeah.
months. Somebody will tell us in the chat, I'm sure. But I think that it was the right move for him because he was talking about going to CMLL and doing stuff down in Mexico, which I'm sure he still will do, and he probably will kill down there. He's got a big following in Mexico, obviously. But staying relevant in this game, a large part means being in the big markets for television. And
Yeah.
we don't get CMLL here in the United States on any TV, but we get TNT. And going over to AEW was a logical choice for him. It made sense for him because he's still hot, he's still relevant, he can work better than most people, if you want to be honest about it. And it made sense for AEW because here's another guy with an established name. We can pair him with somebody else. Vicky Guerrero makes sense. There's an established name there, and he could probably be something. I wouldn't be shocked if you don't see in the next 3 to 6 months Andrade competing for that AEW title or the TNT title. He looks the part. He walks the part, and I love him in AEW. I think it makes great sense.
No, man, it definitely is a big pickup for AEW going forward. Having a guy like him on the roster, I've said it many, many times. This guy is extraordinary as far as the work go. The feud the series of matches that he had with Rey Mysterio. I tell you, he made Rey Mysterio look 20 years younger. And I'm not, trying to age Rey Mysterio or anything like that, but it showed me how good of a worker this guy really truly is, from a perspective that he gets it. He knows exactly what it means to go out there and get someone over and get himself over at the exact same time. So, um, dang, man, like you say, that 90 days, it seemed like it flew by. And now Andrade's, formerly known as, is in AEW. Man, I know the internet world is eating that up. As far as Andrade's is there, Mark Henry, he shows up. The Big Show shows up. The question is going to be now, who's next?
Yeah, I mean, well, I was thinking about all the guys who I don't know if that was a Goldberg illusion or not, but are you saying Goldberg's going to come in? Goldberg would kill everybody in AEW. Think about all the guys who've gone over there over the last several months, right? You just named some of them. Big Show, Paul White, obviously Mark Henry, Christian Cage was another one who was picked up. Miro, Andrade. We just had several releases, and some of them I could see going over to AEW, whether it be Aleister Black. There's a connection for Braun Strowman to go to AEW with Mark Henry being there. There's something that I think it could make sense if we see Braun Strowman in AEW. There's a lot of names.
Yeah, like you know what, we're gonna talk about that. We're gonna talk about Braun Strowman. One thing we got to talk about here with Andrade though, something and a word that I haven't heard used in professional wrestling in more than 20 years. Creative control with the way he's used as far as his finishes go. He's involved with the way he gets beat, the way the finish go every time. He also has in his contract that he could work with other companies as well. So Andrade's pretty much as written his own ticket as far as how he's going to be used and looked at going forward in this business. What do you think about that?
Creative. I didn't read that, so that's news to me.
Yeah,
So he has creative control in his contract. That's
yeah.
man. He
So
must
that's
have.
what the deal, say that the deal was actually going pretty smoothly. He said, but that's what took the deal so long to be made was getting that put in his contract. And I'm sure after coming off of his last run, he's thinking about you know how am I going to be played next, and am I going to have any involvement in decision making as far as how am I going to go out and get beat if I get beat.
Well, shout out to him for negotiating that. Now, I don't know if he did it. I don't know if his future father-in-law, Ric Flair, said, what, this is how it's going to be done. Woo! I don't know who got him that creative control. Whoever it did, man, shout out to them because that's great for him. Now, let me ask you this, though. As somebody who worked around a lot of people back in WCW who had that same creative control clause, do you think that that's beneficial for the show in the locker room? Or is that is that going to cause some dissension amongst some of the boys? Like, wait, Matt, why does he get creative control? Because I got love for Andrade, but he's not Hogan. You know what I mean? He's not.
No, he is,
Man.
but it's a different time now. It's a different time. It's a different era. Andrade's he is a guy that can go to Mexico and stay there.
Sure.
And make enough money to live off for the rest of his life, just working, in Mexico and doing CMLL. I believe that. That's how good this guy is. I'm sure his people definitely make sure he's put in the right position as well. So now, I don't know. I don't know. I think for some of the guys in the locker room, they're going to look at it and say, man, like you say, how did he do this? You know what I mean? And a lot of them going to be saying, man, why didn't I do that? So no, I'm serious. No, I'm serious. And that's why I say, me personally, if I was one of the boys, I couldn't hate. You know what I mean? I would just be like, man, why didn't I think of that? Andrade's, I really believe that this he's Hall of Fame talent. He's future, great in this business. Just by watching, the history of what I've seen as far as his work go. I'm not saying anything else. Just for as what I've seen as far as this kid's work go. Andrade's he has the potential to go down as one of the great of all time that ever put on a pair of boots. If he does it right, and that right there, getting creative control in AEW, that's the first step. Because I'm not just going to be putting the angle in AEW. I'm going to be putting the angle, and it's going to be thought about how this angle is going to end for me first and foremost at the end of the day, so I can move on to the next angle. I know I'm not going to go out and get jobbed out or anything like that going forward. So for me, I think it's great as far as where Andrade is setting himself up for the future more than anything.
But now that that's established, we call that a precedent. Now there's precedent for everybody else who comes over to ask for the same thing, right? And that was, and I'm not forecasting this. Trust me, I'm not. And I'm not saying that it's going to happen or it should happen or I want it to happen. But that was what happened in WCW. Everyone started having creative control. And then all of a sudden, you have all these kind of, like what happened with you at Bash at the Beach? You had a situation like that.
Well, the thing is, only people that got creative control was the guys that came from WWF.
Oh, right. That's what I'm saying. So, like, if this recent wave, the Brauns, the Allisters, the Buddy Murphys, or whomever else might come over, if they all say, look, we get creative control, all of a sudden, you have you already got 5 cooks in the kitchen. You got 4 executive vice presidents, and you got Tony Khan. Now you got Andrade, whoever else gets creative control. You have some story issues, potentially.
Buddy Murphy, he's still the Impact guy. You know what I mean? So let's not talk. I'm just playing, guys. It's jokes. No, man, it could create a whole lot of dissension among talent. It really could. It could. Me personally, if I was anyone in Andrade's camp, no one would have known about me having creative control other than myself and the company. So therefore, the business is in a different place. It's in a totally different place than it was back in the day. I don't think we knew Hogan had creative control, or Scott Hall and Kevin Nash and those guys had creative. We didn't know that until later on in life. You know what I mean? But those guys didn't come in and go, hey, man, we're not losing because we got creative control. It wasn't like that. It wasn't on the internet that, I got creative control and my angles the way, it wasn't like that. You know what I mean? So the business is in a totally different place, just like, we talked about Braun Strowman and, some of the comments I made about Braun Strowman. I've been getting a lot of heat about, the comments I made about Braun. And the thing is, I didn't say anything that wasn't true. As far as the way the landscape of the business has changed for the big guy and the monster elite. If you don't think it's changed, maybe we need to explore a little bit more. Maybe we need to talk about it just a little bit more. And we need to do it inside the Hall of Fame. Stick around. We'll be back in a minute. Welcome back inside the Hall of Fame. I'm Booker T along with my man Brad Gilmore. And we're talking about comments I made about Braun Strowman, being no longer with the WWE, being one of the last big guys of the business. Yeah, man, I truly believe that a lot of people took my comments, and I don't know if they kind of changed the wording around and made it mean something a little bit different. But there again, let me reiterate, as far as big guys in the wrestling business, let's just think about this here for a second. Back in the day, I'm 6'3". I was 240 pounds back then. I was a pretty big guy. But it was so many, more guys on the roster that had me beat. I heard, a comment was made, and they say, in AEW, Billy Gunn is a monster. And I'm gonna tell you, that's true. It's Billy Gunn, 6'5". He's 260 pounds, 250, 60 pounds easily. You know what I mean? But it's not that many guys in AEW that's as big as Billy Gunn, other than, maybe a Lance Archer, other than Lance Cage. I mean, not Lance Cage, Brian Cage. Brian
Brian
Cage.
Cage, yeah.
And Brian Cage is not as taller, but he's a pretty big guy. But I don't look at Brian Cage. Brian Cage is a monster in AEW. Am I correct or not?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So when you see someone like Braun Strowman come along, man, he's an enigma. It did. I heard people say, well, Andre the Giant, you know what I mean? He worked out as a big guy back in the day. Well, Andre the Giant was a giant, but it was a ton of big guys in the company that he had to work with, that he could work with. It's not a ton of big guys in AEW that's 6'3" tall. It's not a ton of those. It's not a ton of those guys in WWE as well. Today, go back 20 years ago, it was many of those guys that you could put a guy like Andre in position, a guy like Almost in position, and then have guys to actually be able to work, as well as be able to work and get better, because a lot of those big guys were really good workers at the same time. So he taught the Giants how to work at the same time. So I don't know. People can look at it and think I was throwing shade on Braun Strowman. I wasn't. I'm just saying the business landscape, if you don't see it, it's totally different. And they said, well, WWE, they could have figured out how to get Braun Strowman over. Yeah, perhaps they could have figured out a way how to get Braun Strowman over. But we don't know. We don't know what entails and how long, what goes into, getting a guy over. Most of the times back in the day, guys got themselves over.
Yeah.
They didn't worry about even the Giants, the Oz's of the world, which is Kevin Nash, by the way. You know what I mean? They figured out how to get themselves over, or they got put in a position, just like I said, with Braun Strowman. I say if he does come into one of these organizations, they got to figure out how to somewhat like Kevin Nash and Shawn Michaels did back in the day. When they brought Diesel in, he was the muscle. And then, next thing you know, they put him in the ring, and man, this guy could go. Man, wait a minute, this guy's getting over. Wait a minute, the fans love him. Boom, let's break him up. Let's let him have his own. That's the way it normally happens, even for Almost come in. He's not a accomplished wrestler or anything like that. He's not a grizzled veteran or anything like that. So put him with AJ Styles, put him in tag matches. Then he can actually learn how to work from just standing on the apron, watching these guys go out there and perform. So understand when I talk about a giant, someone like a Braun Strowman, you got to figure out how to put this guy in place for him to be successful first and foremost. Did I think it was putting Braun Strowman in a place to be successful, him coming in and picking up a semi and turning it over? No, I didn't think so, because I just think from a realistic perspective, if I see Braun Strowman in a bar, he's the last person I'm going to mess with. He's the last person I'm going to spout off something to. It's a way to get this guy over without actually making him super natural. Okay, that's just my opinion.
No, I see what you're saying too from the Giants of yesteryear, and Braun Strowman is a giant by today's standards, and on AEW roster, he would be the biggest guy on the roster, right?
Easily.
Yeah, he's the biggest guy on the roster. Right now, if Godfather were working currently, the Godfather would be like a giant, right?
A monster.
He'd be a monster. So from that perspective, I understand what you're saying. And the other thing with Braun in WWE, I think that and this is, and by no means am I diminishing what Braun Strowman was able to do, because I was a Braun Strowman fan, but I think that they did everything, in my opinion, right by him in his presentation, right? I mean, you put him with Bray Wyatt at first, let him learn how to work. He gets over as the Wyatt family. You break him off. He goes on this monster run. Remember, he had those 6-7 months of squash matches where he was taking on 2 guys at a time or what have you. Then you let him fight another giant. You put him up against Big Show for several months. I think he worked Kane for several months, works Brock Lesnar for a few months. Then you put the title on him, let him run with it. And it was during that title run where something happened. I don't know what it was. something happened to where he wasn't clicking the same way that he was. And I don't know if he got the title and he's like, oh, I've arrived now. I don't need to think about anything because I'm the champion. I don't need to evolve the character. I don't need to think how to get better. I don't know if that was the thing, but it was something after he won the title from Goldberg that derailed the Strowman Express, in my opinion.
Well, a lot of people say, him going out and, not beating Brock Lesnar. And my thing is this, you go out and he beats Brock Lesnar, who's the most believable guy, on the roster.
One of the most believable in history.
Perhaps. And then what do you go from there? Where do you go from there? All right, we know we can do with Brock Lesnar. But what do we go from there as far as Braun go? I mean, can we bank on Braun to go out here and, be the guy that's going to pull the number in the next WrestleMania? That's what people don't understand. People just thinking about their, fan favorite, the one that they like the most. Or, if I'm, putting somebody down, or if I'm just toying, WWE line or anything like that. No, that's not it. I'm just telling it like it is. I see a guy like Braun Strowman finding a spot somewhere on somebody's roster, but it's going to be up to the promotion how Braun Strowman is to be looked at going forward. Because let's think about this as well. Braun Strowman is going to have to rebuild himself all the way from the bottom, being a totally different character. Okay, the monster among men, that gimmick is over and done with. If is Braun Strowman going to try to take that same character to the next company that he goes to? That's going to be the question right there. As far as Braun going out and what kind of match is Braun going to go out and have? Is it going to be the same match he had in WWE as Braun Strowman? Or is he going to go out and evolve? Is Braun Strowman going to be able to work with smaller guys and those matches be believable when it's time for the little guy to kick out or whatever, So it's so much going into play when Braun Strowman shows up in another company. And a lot of people not looking at it like that. A lot of people are just looking at it like, oh, well, he could just come in and just squash guys and just beat guys up. Well, what about me building my company now? What about what I've been building my company on? Now, all of a sudden, the landscape changes because one guy get fired from a company now. We got a spot for him, so we bring him in just to beat up all the guys that we've been building for the last 2 years. Come on, understand the landscape and what we're trying to do. Like I say, for someone like Braun to come in wherever he comes in, he's going to have to put in position to be successful first and foremost, because he cannot live off of what he's lived off for the last, I don't know how many years it's been in WWE. That's just my point.
And you're right from this instance of, back in the day, Hogan, big guy, right? Hogan's 6'6" or whatever he is, 6'5", 6'6", 6'7", 300 pounds, 280 pounds, whatever. Hogan had a lot of other guys that size and bigger to work consistently. You had King Kong Bundy, Andre the Giant, Earthquake, Bam Bam, Morocco, Haku, even Macho, who's big, Warrior,
Barbarian, Mean.
Yeah, I mean, there's so many guys that he could work.
A ton of guys.
They were big. You mean Tugboat,
Savage, Macho Man Savage. You know, I mean, he had a ton of guys to actually go out.
Yokozuna.
Everybody on the roster was considered a monster. Would be considered a monster today.
Yeah, Undertaker, Lex Luger. I mean, the list goes on and on of all the guys who are big. So you have more options for Giants. And I'm really, now I'm processing what you're saying. There's not a lot of options for him. And if he squashes all your talent, which conceivably he should, based on his size, it does nothing really for your show other than having a big guy. Right?
Yeah, that's all it does. That's all it does. It does nothing for everybody on your roster. Like I said, you got to figure out how you formulate everything on your roster now, because you got a guy like that on the roster. Mm-hmm. And that's just my point. That's my opinion. That's why I think we're going to see Big Show do a whole lot, because it's not a whole lot of guys Big Show can, work with. It's not a lot of guys Mark Henry can work with, but that's just the way the old mob flops. Stick around, guys. You're in the Hall of Fame. We'll be back in a minute. What's up, this Booker T, two-time Hall of Famer. I know you're checking out The Shine, checking out The Gloss. I want to thank you guys for checking out Row on YouTube. Hey, don't forget to click and subscribe to check out all the latest content right here each and every week. Now, can you dig that, sucker?